Okay. We're live, gang. One and all. Welcome to yet another episode of WIC TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues, both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. We got a show for you, gang. Okay. So we were talking about. Well, no, I'll get to that after. First, the first 100 days of Trump presidency has been marked with scandal and pushback by a ton of different sources. But one of the things that Trump has stuck his flag on, right, hung his hat on, is his deportations. Today he put out a row of mugshots of the people, the violent criminals that he claims to have deported. This is his signature, at least so far, policy, and it's what he's running on: immigration and deportations. But the question comes, is he doing these things correctly? Is he doing it right? Should we be doing this at all? We're going to talk about it today. We've got a lovely group to talk about, and we're going to get into it. But first, before we do, I'm going to give each of them an introduction, tell people who they are, what their initial thoughts are there. And we already talked about it backstage, but in chat, just something to be thinking of. 100 men versus a gorilla. Who wins? It's a good question. They all have the same answer. I'm curious if you do, chat. 100 humans, no tools, no weapons, versus one silverback gorilla. Okay, we're going to give it first to Jonah, who's going to start us off. Jonah, give us what you got.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Jonah, or Juna. I'm not a content creator. I just like to debate. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm always here. And yeah, I think I'm not one to jump to, quote unquote fascism very quick. I think it's cringe when people overuse that word. What we're seeing recently is as close to fascism as you are going to get. It's unacceptable. The complete disregard for due process is pretty fascistic, and anyone defending it should be ashamed of themselves. And that's it.
Okay, well, thank you for being here, and I'm sure we will get at it and see if Gibbs and Tyler are ashamed of themselves. We'll find out. Gibbs, we're going to pass the mic to you. Are you ashamed of yourself?
Yeah, absolutely not. You know who should be ashamed of themselves? People like this individual over here that says something like that. I know we're going to talk about due process, but I interviewed one of my friends' families this week when I found out I was going to do this panel. And one of them, her name is Angel. This is a girl I've dated once or twice, and her sister was recently killed by an illegal alien, and she decided to share some details with me that weren't shared with the public when it was put out there. One of them being that her sister that was sleeping at home, and this individual broke into her house, proceeded to tie her down, sexually assault her, and then choked her out, dying. So the last thing she saw was a strange man who she didn't know, of the Zeta cartel, choking her down to death after brutally sexually assaulting her for several hours. And the question she wanted to ask this panel, and me to ask for her, is where was her sister's due process, and why was this 100% preventable crime allowed to occur whenever he'd been arrested previously and could have been deported by the Biden administration? These are things I'd like to hear from our other panelists today about why they hate American women and why they hate American lives here, and why they want these things to continue happening to Americans, because every time one of these things happens, it's a preventable tragedy.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. That's quite the story. We will get into it as we go. Shenandoah, what do you have for us? Any stories?
Yes. No, I got no good stories. I do not have a friend who was killed by illegal immigrants. So sorry about that. I just gotta say, pretty simply, I think that the Constitution applies to non-citizen residents, and even if it didn't, it absolutely should, in order for us to be an even remotely civilized people. Due process is one of the major pillars of the American social contract, and any violation should be treated with extreme opposition, as Americans have done historically, and as is now being violated by these recent deportations. And I think sending people to foreign jurisdictions is just like a fucking icing on top of the cake. It just makes it extra bad. So, yeah, not a big fan of the deportations, basically.
Okay. Well, we'll get into it as we go. And last, but certainly not least, Tyler, or average debate enjoyer, go ahead. What do you have for us?
Well, I am Tyler, average debate enjoyer, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. I am here to be the most intelligent and the most empathetic on the panel, as I always am. So if you want your correct answers, just mute everybody else and listen to me. Going into this, it shows me that the Democratic Party has not learned from their mistakes of listening to the public, appreciating law and order, and calling the opposition evil, fascist, bad guys over disagreements that are perfectly legal. I want to go through a lot of precedent I wrote down as to the legality of these things and the claims that due process were skipped. More a step is being disputed by two parties. We do not have the answer on that yet. Anyone telling you they have the answer on which of these two legal theories is correct is selling you a bag of lies. And if you believe it, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. Please come see me.
Okay, with that, let's open up the panel. So I guess the first thing I'll ask to everyone here is, in general, we have seen Clinton deport 13 million. Obama deported, I think, several million as well. Bush Jr. and Bush Sr. both deported people. Biden deported 4 million immigrants. So what makes Trump different? Why is this now an issue when it hasn't been before? And this is to Jonah first and Shenandoah as well. And then we'll go from there.
Is a blatant disregard for the law and the courts that no other president has ever had. And I think that's pretty obvious to anyone paying attention. Even the Supreme Court, who was stacked 6-3 in his favor, ruled 9-0 against him and said that he needs to follow due process, try Abrego Garcia under the actual law that he's supposed to be tried under, and correct the mistake that they made. Even if it's the case that he ends up getting deported either way at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because we have processes for a reason. We have due process for a reason. And so they need to make an effort to bring him back, to try him the correct way, and to actually follow the law. And the fact that this government is not willing to actually follow what a Supreme Court order told them to do and to follow the law that every other president has followed to deport illegal immigrants shows that they don't give a fuck about the law. They don't give a fuck about due process. And it could be you listener, it could be your demographic next that they don't give a fuck about when they start deporting you.
Same answer, Shenandoah?
Pretty much, yeah. I would just second that without fucking
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
That,
Well, let's
that's
open up
hilarious.
to the show. So.
Yeah, it's hyperbole and stupid.
Yeah.
SCOTUS did not rule it against Trump, and if anything, it was arguably
Yes, they
both
did.
sides got something. Hold on, I didn't interrupt you. Both sides got something out of it, if anything. 1, 2, they still haven't ruled on this specifically. They're still looking at this. What they ruled is the judge could not, she could ask for facilitation, and they upheld that facilitation request, but she could not ask for effectuation, and they slapped down the effectuation request. As for the legal theory being presented by the administration, what they're saying is that all it was some paperwork to remove this withholding order. So we have something in law that's called where is it? It's in my notes here. It is called the harmless error rule. Clause 2 of the harmless error rule is if the error in the law does not result in anything different, any outcome that's different, like this man being deported to El Salvador, then the error was minuscule and not worth administering. There is no world where this man doesn't get deported back to El Salvador, even if we bring him back and give him that one step in due process that you're arguing he missed. He still goes back to El Salvador.
A harmless error rule is after they've had a whole hearing, so it's irrelevant in this case because he
had
did not
multiple.
have the whole hearing. No, he did not have the full hearings required, and that's why the Supreme Court disregarded this harmless error rule when they brought it up as an argument in front of the full court, is because you need a full hearing and full due process, and then they consider if there was a harmless error done and whether or not that same decision would have been reached. The fact that he didn't have the full process conducted means that this is not a real argument, and that's why they didn't see it.
That has yet to be ruled on yet.
No, it was ruled already. You are just lying. It was ruled already.
Getting ahead of the Supreme Court and pretending like your opinion is facts.
No, I'm not.
Hold on. I find this real argumentation, this line of argumentation, just really, really rich. I like for years now. I think it's 2 years now. I have come on here and I've complained about the rule of law not being followed. I've complained about the border law not being enforced. I've complained about my ranch being damaged, my cattle being eaten, my friends fucking dying for years now. That's 2 years on Twitch. My whole life we've had to deal with this shit. And we've sat here and bitched about it. And then when I came on Twitch, my first interaction from people like Jonah here was, ho, 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 rich landowner, why do we give a shit about you? And now you expect me to give two flying fucks about someone who's clearly an MS-13 member, and then, oh, they got deported and they skipped one step. Y'all didn't care about the law down here at all. Y'all cared about it none. And now something poo-poo happened. I am making an argument. You can get interrupted.
What is
the argument.
How about you stop fucking interrupting?
Hold on. One at a time. Finish, Gibbs.
Yeah.
Finish.
I mean, it's crazy that this line of argumentation is happening, that they're going to act like somehow the law is important to them. They haven't cared about the law at all. Good for Trump for enforcing the law. Good for Trump for getting out of here. And the reason why y'all care about what Trump's doing is because he's effective. We have had the lowest amount, according to Rutgers, of people come to the border since, guess what? The last time Trump was in office, because he's captured all the ones here. He's deporting all the ones, and they know there's no point in coming because guess what? You're going to get shipped back to where you came from. And it's amazing how he solved this problem overnight. And the Democrats are sitting here being dishonest, going, hey, we this is all terrible. And whenever 60% of Americans are excited about what's happening.
You know, Gibbs, I am actually genuinely sorry that that's happened to you and your friend and your property and all that stuff. That is actually pretty hard. And I just want to say that, you know, I wish the state would have supported them more and would have protected your friend and your property and all that stuff against these people who, you know, want to damage your life and safety and liberty. But I do want to say, I'm not sure if two wrongs necessarily make a right in this situation. I don't really see why the injustice which happened to you, which was the failure to enforce the law to protect these people, necessarily means that we should ignore due process when it comes to, say, somebody like even unrelated to your specific situation, and then just like, I don't know, just deport him to like some foreign gulag. I sympathize with your situation, but I don't know. Like I don't want that to be a justification for treating people badly in the future as well. Shouldn't Trump have like some dignity and some fucking honor and like hold up the rule of law, even if Biden had in theory violated it?
I mean, that sounds well and good. I'm like, I see what you're trying to get at. You know, it'd be great if this was a perfect society. You know, however, the issue that's arising, it seems like repeatedly with the Trump administration versus the left, is the speed at which he's doing things. And whenever you do things quickly, sometimes there are some errors, right? And it looks to me like, hey, I wanted this problem stopped. All the people down here have wanted this problem stopped, and they wanted an immediate end. And we told people what that solution was. And it's amazing that Trump did this overnight. He saw, it seems like the border problem vanished, right? And I understand where you're coming from, like, oh, these things are bad, right? But it's kind of back to what Tyler said. It's not really a fundamental problem when this guy's going to get back over here and get deported immediately.
Do you admit they made an error? Do you admit they made an error in the Garcia case?
Sure, I guess they made an error. But you know,
nobody's saying otherwise.
Are they trying to fix that error right now?
Well, I'll say this. I don't know. I can't speak to that, but I can speak to the fact that he should have been deported under Biden whenever he got in trouble the first time and he was let free. So did they make an error then? Yeah, absolutely. Was another error made now?
We know the answer to that question. But I was asking you the question because I know you know the answer to it. They're not trying to bring him back. They could use tons of different ways to bring him back. And what the court ordered actually is to facilitate his return. Yes, they removed the other word and remanded that back to the lower court, but they upheld that they need to facilitate his return. What that means is like facilitating to communicate with the people they sent him to, El Salvador, to help bring him back. And there's a tons of ways they could do that. They could cancel the millions of dollars that they gave them to house them there. They could make any kind of public threat whatsoever to try to bring him back. They're doing none of that. They don't want to facilitate.
That's effectuating. That's effectuating. Yes, that is ordering the admin to take actions on foreign policy is effectuating. They didn't slap that back to the lower court. They said that the judge didn't have authority to do it. This is the second time you got the ruling wrong. You've gotten the ruling wrong twice.
Tell me what it means. Tell me facilitating.
The legal definition of facilitating, according to Pam Bondi, is if they release him, we'll send him
to Pam Bondi. That's awesome. Yes. So
I don't operate under this silly auspices that everyone I don't like is allowed.
Hold on, Jonah. Finish. Jonah, go ahead.
This is not how definitions from courts work. Is the administration can decide what the words mean based on whatever they want it to mean, to favor them the most based on a court order. What the court decided is facilitating means they need to make a reasonable effort to bring the person back, and they're not doing that right now. They remember there was like a reporter asking a question, and he was basically just like shrugged it off and said, "No, fuck you." Essentially,
what do you want them to do? You said you want them to use.
I'll let you ask your question in a minute, Tyler, but. Jonah,
there's tons of things they can do. At the point where you guys are willing to admit that they're actually made a mistake in deporting this person to a foreign country without due process, which is required to give every single person, not citizen, person in this country, they could do a lot of things. They're paying them millions of dollars to house people in El Salvadorian prison right now. I don't know, maybe cancel that fucking money first. That's like a very obvious first step. Second, they could make public statements to say, hey, we want to bring this person back. And third, like if all else fails and they absolutely will bring them back, send a fucking SEAL Team 6 in there. I don't give a shit. We deported someone without due process and the court ordered that person to return.
So none of that is You have
All
no
of that is
idea what the
all
legal
that.
definition of facilitated and
You got your
affection
legal
are.
definition from Pam Bondi, who already said that they have no intention of bringing them back.
You're saying that facilitate means send in SEAL Team 6 or cancel
Tell me.
unrelated contracts. You're
Go
fucking
ahead, Gibbs.
retarded. You don't know what you're
faci-
talking about.
Go ahead, Gibbs. Tell me what facilitate means.
Don't worry, I'll look it up for you. We'll find out. But
All
keep
right.
going while you're
Thanks,
arguing.
buddy.
The Supreme Court laid this out in their ruling. They greatly explained it
No,
for
you
you. If
told me
you
what Pam
actually
Bondi
read
said.
it, I did.
Yeah.
The Supreme
Tell me
Court
what
told
Pam
you
Bondi
this.
said.
I'm saying the Supreme Court told you this. If you actually spent
Really?
more than 30 seconds doing research and 5 pages wasn't too much for you to read, you'd know what the Supreme Court said. You've got the ruling wrong twice on details so far.
I did
You
actually
didn't bring up the
read your
third
5
thing.
pages, and it was mostly schizo ramblings that had no understanding
You
of what
didn't.
the
It was
actual
all
law was.
cited at the bottom.
Yeah.
It was all cited at the bottom. I had brought up all the legal citations at the bottom. So the fact that you just hand wave off anything you don't like tells me you're just a dishonest partisan that really isn't to be taken seriously. So Shenandoah, do you have anything to say? Because I know you have some class and a little bit of fucking honesty to
Y'all
you.
want the definition?
Hey, don't
I'll give
flatter
the
me. Don't
definition.
flatter me. Don't flatter me.
You're a very
Oh,
charming. You're a very charming
I'll look it
individual.
up. I'll look up how the court defined it in that case.
I got the definition.
It was
if
in
you
my
want it.
citation document.
Oh, give the definition. Sure.
Yeah, so there's 3 definitions. Only one of them really applies because the one's criminal law. But I can go through to make the occurrence of easier, to render less difficult. Criminal law is to make the commission of a crime easier. Facilitate the commission of a certain offense that may therefore be forfeited. And the final one is mediation, to use techniques designed to improve the flow of information between parties to a dispute. So I don't know if the other 2 really apply there, but now we know. There's your legal definition.
SEAL Team 6 apply. Or canceling an unrelated contract based on Venezuelan citizens going to an El Salvador prison. We can now cancel that unrelated contract because an El Salvadorian, we want him back from his home country? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I have a
Punish
question.
them. That's effectuate.
What's going to happen when we bring this guy back, though, right? Because
It's going to go through due process, and then he's probably going to be deported again, if we're all being honest.
Okay.
But do you understand why that matters? Do you actually get it?
Oh, I understand. I get it.
Do you tell me why that matters? Tell me why that matters.
Because you're going to want the precedent set going forward. That is, we follow everything to the T, dot our I's, whatever. That's what we should be doing.
Correct.
And I would agree with
that's
you.
Important?
I would agree with you that that's important, except for the fact that, I think Shenandoah's maybe got a better argument than you do in this case, because he's arguing that 2 wrongs don't make a right. I'm at the point now where I'm like, you know what? I don't give a fuck because y'all have done nothing for so long that I just want fucking results. And that may sound scary. It is scary that I'm at this point that I'm saying it. But dear Lord, nothing's been done and Trump solved the problem overnight. And then y'all are going, well, this is just crazy that an accident happened and we should go back, get this guy with SEAL Team 6 and bring him back so we can deport him again. Come on, bro. Do you see how ridiculous that sounds?
I do see how ridiculous you sound when you say that. You care about the process.
I just quoted you.
But then you care about the process, but you don't care about the process. I don't like if you care about the process, you would want him returned to do it correctly, and then probably, and this is why I say probably, because it's not certain, because this is why we have due process to figure out if it's the correct decision, probably get redeported. Because if we just say, oh, it's probably going to be this result anyway, so let's just throw it under any law that loosely applies and then throw them out of the country, that can be done to literally anyone for literally any law if we start breaking this precedent.
What is the answer to that? I guess I asked Jonah's side earlier about what makes Trump different. Let me ask your side, Gibbs. Are you worried at all that this will set a precedent going forward based on Trump's other comments, such as that he wants to pay Bukele to build more prisons so that he can start sending citizen criminals to there, right? Do you worry at all that this kind of ignoring of precedent, ignoring of the Constitution, ignoring of due process will enable further wrongs down the line?
I mean, sure. I worry about all sorts of things, right? I've brought up Doge before. I'm not really a big government guy, and I'm concerned not with so much how Doge is being used now, but who's going to use it next, right? I have concerns about all sorts of shit, right? However, when I sit here and these are the arguments being made, first I've heard for years how terrible corporate mega prisons are, right? Here in the United States. Next, I'm hearing Trump say we might send people overseas and they're going to be tax-funded payers, prisons over there. Yeah, all of these sound fucking terrible, But as here's the issue though, is that this is about immigration that we're talking about, and dear Lord, all these people came here illegally. It's hurting ag. It's hurting people on the day-to-day basis. All these crimes are preventable, and these people got to go. And we're sitting here arguing about this like,
you've been fighting shadows this entire debate. Nobody. Number one, Abreu Garcia is not the one that killed your ex-girlfriend's sister or whatever. First of all, so that's number one. You're just blaming a random illegal immigrant on another random illegal immigrant. Good job dehumanizing literally all of them. Number two, you just placed arguments. You did. Number two, you just placed all of these arguments that the Biden administration did and said, you guys are defending this. You have no idea what I defended.
I don't have
just assuming
that because I'm
all of you. Shut. Oh my God. Do I have to mute people today? Do I have to mute people today? Are we going to be good? Are we going to go one at a time? Cool. Finish up, Jonah, and then I'll let Tyler respond. Go ahead.
And number three, you are saying that, all these illegal people are coming in. We just need to enforce the law, whatever. But then you agreed to the argument that there should be due process. Then you're just trying to weave around it by justifying, we need to do something about it. We need to do something quickly. When you yourself said that we should do something to rectify this current situation and have no justifications why they aren't trying to do that right now. If you think due process is important, they should bring him back. You agree that they have the power to bring him back. And so I have no idea what argument you're trying to make besides just scrolling out of a very obvious.
I would like to respond to this.
Because he's got four fucking incorrect statements there. I want to jump out. One, there was no Supreme Court hearing. It was an emergency meeting. Two, they never said return anywhere in the document. You just made that shit up. Three, you're mischaracterizing what they actually wrote in the document. They warned that it's effectuating that you're advocating for. All the suggestions you gave were effectuating, not facilitating. All those things were Article 2 overreach. So you're ignoring what they actually said in the ruling to make up your own ruling. You are getting this completely wrong, and it's resulting in you actually shadowboxing Ghost and telling Gibbs he's getting it wrong, who's actually giving you factual information as well as his anecdotal personal story.
You have no idea what facilitate means. You have no
I just gave it to you. It's in my fucking document.
You tell us what Pam Bondi said, retard. Hello.
It's in my document. I'm not playing your fucking quiz. I let you fucking talk. Hold on, shut up, Andy. I let you talk and give her questions.
Hold on, let Tyler. Hold on, let Tyler go. Tyler finish. And then he can respond.
So I let you. It's in my document that you didn't bother reading. You asked me for something as a pop quiz on the spot. That's a fucking stupid debate tactic. All you've done is
I can quote the Supreme Court statement to you.
Shut up. All you've done. No, would you just shut the fuck up for 5 seconds? All you've done is misquote the Supreme Court. I gave you all 4 statements on how you misquoted the Supreme Court, and all you say is you're retarded and switch the subject.
Let me read something from their statement.
After he's done. Hold on, both of you. Tyler's gonna finish, and then after he's done, I'll let you read that quote if you'd like.
What a cunt, dude. So we have this disputed in the past. Buddy. We have this disputed in the past. Quit gaslighting me, fucking virgin. We have this disputed in the past. We can see that this easily falls under, and as he said, the Supreme Court did give a ruling on this, but it still, I think, falls under the harmless error rule, because at the end of the day, this person was going to end up in El Salvador. Whether Pam Bondi was right, we bring him, or we just do the paperwork, and now that he's in a terrorist organization, he's been adjudicated 2 times to be a member of MS-13, which is a terrorist organization. His withholding order was invalidated at that point as soon as they became a terrorist organization. Once that happened, all it took was paperwork, not a hearing, but that is what's suggested. I tend to lean more toward Andy McCarthy's side, that they should have taken a hearing. But at the end of the day, he's going to end up back in El Salvador anyways. There's no fucking endgame where he doesn't go back to El Salvador. He's a violent terrorist criminal, and standing up for him not only makes you look stupid, it makes you look like you're anti-America, and that's why you can't win a fucking election.
Okay. Just to be clear, we're not standing up for him. We're standing up for the actual process that we want to see upheld, because we're obviously concerned. Yeah, I mean,
because you screamed at me when I tried to say that, and I think you're just overly emotional.
He just likes me. He just
you're respectful, and you actually let me engage in the points. Not just
I think you get
hold on. Everyone, I like the energy, but take it down a notch, just a notch. Okay, let's. I mean, you're all friends here. Well,
national sovereignty doesn't matter.
Okay.
We should.
Okay. Enough. You've had your turn, Tyler. We're gonna give it to Shenandoah, then we're gonna give it to our friend Jonah here. go ahead, and he can read his Supreme Court quote.
Oh,
And I
actually,
see
Gibbs wanted to
don't worry.
go. He can go.
I would like to get it as well.
Okay,
Yeah, 'cause he
Sean-
did,
okay,
like,
Jonah,
directly
you had a
address him.
Supreme Court quote you wanted to read. I think now's the chance.
There is literally a direct quote from the okay. The district court properly requires the government to, quote, facilitate, end quote, Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador. How could you possibly interpret that any differently?
Where does that say he has to be
Hold on, let him finish. Go ahead, Jonah, please.
He was asking a question. It does not say he has to be
Yeah,
returned.
yes,
I'm going to read it again. I'm going to read it again for you. If you don't interpret it as they are saying to get him the fuck back here, then I don't think you can read English. The district court properly requires the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador. There's no justification, no world in which you don't interpret that as the Supreme Court is saying you need to bring him back here. That is insane, and you're just like,
I just did. I disagree with you, and your disagreement is you disagree with me, you're wrong. But you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You've misquoted the ruling 4 times now.
I just don't think you speak English. That's just so plain text, plain as day.
I mean, let's just leave it there.
And
I think you're an uninformed, lazy idiot.
You're using the propagandist mouthpiece Van Bondi to give whatever definition suits the administration.
You're just reading headlines, bro, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I just told you what the direct Supreme Court said in the case.
4 times I've corrected you.
Oh my god, you're so dumb. It's unreal.
Okay, we're circling the drain on this. Let's give it to Gibbs and see what Gibbs has to say.
Yeah, so I was characterized as painting all illegal aliens the same, which is crazy because I've spoken many times on immigration, and I've always advocated for more immigration. In fact, with a secure border, right? Because I like immigrants, right? Immigrants are great. Some of my best friends growing up have been immigrants. One of them, for example, he came here illegally off the start, went back, got his proper pathway. He works 3 minimum wage jobs, has a Porsche, has the wife here now, is having kids. That's the fucking American dream, right? Okay, I'd rather we have 1 million of him and then a trillion of these fucking lefty that never want to work. I'd rather have 1 million of them. So whenever he's going to sit here and say, I mischaracterize these illegal aliens, it's totally different. Sure, the guy that killed my friend, bad guy. Sure, this guy, Garcia, that beat his wife, bad guy, right? But I'm sorry, but if you all came here legally, you need to get deported. That's the rule. That's due process. That's the thing. What you're arguing about, yes.
I didn't get due process.
Oh, cool. That's great. When you see it argue, say, hey, due process.
That's not what due process is.
Did you let me finish? Listen, I let you go. I'm going to go now. All right, and then you can go. So what Tyler has been trying to say, it's not rambling. It's called
can't help himself.
Start point A, and we go to point B, then we go to C, and guess what? That equals D. Oh, amazing. Check it out. It's called line of thought. Now, so back to what Tyler's been saying. What he's saying is, hey, this guy, he committed the crime. He should have been deported under Biden after he beat his wife, right? But he didn't. Okay, so here, hey, we're going there. Due process wasn't involved in. Now we're here, and he's been shipped out to El Salvador. And you're going, yeah, the court said we need to bring him back. Cool, I'm not going to argue the technicalities of that, but let's just say hypothetically you're 100% correct, and he does need to be brought back. Well, you already admitted once he gets here, he's going to be pretty much deported right back. And your argument was A, send SEAL Team 6 in at risk of an international incident. Wow, that's real logical. Or B, hey, bring this guy back. Yeah. And we're going to have to spend more money on more court cases to get the exact same fucking result. Seems like some dumbassery to me.
Declare a war on El Salvador.
Hey, Tyler and Admiral Gibbs, you realize that's not what would have to happen, right? They could pick up the phone and call tomorrow and he'd be sent back.
That's what you said, right? That's what you said. Because you're a fucking idiot.
Hey, Tyler, as an insane hyperbole, which I know you don't understand because you don't fucking read or speak English.
You're asking them to declare a war on El Salvador and saying that's
I'm going to declare war on all of you, okay? Stop.
Hey, retard, not what I said. I said they could pick up the phone tomorrow and get him back, but I'm saying in the immense version of hyperbole, if we accidentally deported someone and they refused to bring that person back, then we should probably go try to get that person. But that's not obviously going to be necessary. You could pick up the phone literally right now, call him, and he'd be on a flight tonight.
Let me ask. Hold on.
Bring him back to deport him again. That's what
hold on. Let me ask.
Correct.
This is
yes,
to Shenandoah and Jonah's side real quick because I'm very curious. Because I want the audience to kind of understand what you mean when you say they're not getting due process. So how precisely is Donald Trump's administration violating, in your opinion, the due process of the people that they're deporting? Because I'm assuming you think it's more than just Garcia, correct? Or are you saying that it's just in this specific case? Or is your argument that it's a more broad violation of due process? I'm curious.
I could believe that there are other violations of due process, but I will be like transparent and say that I don't know about those other cases as well right now, so I'm not gonna speak on those just at this time. But yeah, as I understand it, there was essentially an error with the Garcia case. They used the wrong law. They didn't properly resolve his withholding order, which said he can't be sent to El Salvador. He got sent anyways. The Supreme Court was like, hang on a minute. And then the Trump administration is not like properly trying to facilitate the return, like even a little. Like we don't even have to bring the SEAL Team 6 stuff into it. I kind of doubt that there's even been like a serious phone call, to be honest with you, to be like congruent with this Supreme Court decision. And I also wanted to throw in something that due process is a burden on the government when the government wants to act and like punish somebody either through like say deportation or incarceration. Failing to enforce a law is not a failure to do due process per se. Due process really matters when the government is actually doing something, especially if it like carries risk of punishment. And so I don't really think there's an equivalence between not enforcing the law, which is still a bad thing, and like skipping important steps in a legal process. Does that make sense?
It does. Let me ask you this, right? One of the things that the Supreme Court has ruled on is that there has to be a chance for those who are being deported to have habeas corpus, or in other words, a chance to answer to the charges levied against them. The government's accusing them of a thing, and they have to be able to refute that. They have to be allowed time. In response to that, the government has said that they're going to give these deportees, deportationees? I don't know. Deportees, I think.
Deportees.
Yeah, they're going to give them 24 hours to respond. Is that, in your opinion, and I want to ask this to Tyler, actually, to Tyler and to Gibbs, is that enough, in your opinion? Is 24 hours, would you consider that enough due process?
No, I think that if the legal theory that they're talking about is correct, which I tend to lean toward personally, I think that he needs, I think, what is it, a couple of weeks to appeal before he gets kicked. Yeah, I don't think he was afforded
It's not just
same...
him. They're talking about deportees in general, right? Because that's why they've frozen deportations from anyone being deported under the Alien Enemies Act. You understand that, right? The Supreme Court put out a hold on that.
Did I message you that question? I think the AEA is unconstitutional, at least that part of it, based on advances in laws that we've had, specifically the 1994 Clinton torture policy.
To be clear, then, you are against the way that Trump is doing these deportations.
The AEA ones, I'm
That's
against
a significant
them
portion of them.
Yes. No, it's only like 100 or 200, isn't it? Garcia was deported under the IEA, or what is it?
Again, we're just talking.
He was.
False. He was supposed to be, but they did the wrong law, and that's part of why he doesn't have due process. It's because they cited under the AEA. Hey, Tyler, when someone's talking to you that actually knows what the fuck they're talking about, why don't you listen instead of talking?
Okay? When that person starts fucking talking, I will.
Hey, retard, shut up. When they tried to do it under the IND, or whatever the fuck it's called, and they misdid it under the AEA, and they made a mistake. They followed up and said, we made a mistake, we meant to do it under the other law. And that was part of the reason that the court is demanding them to come back.
So they made a mistake, and then what did they do? They switched the law and deported him exactly how I fucking said, right?
No, they deported him under the wrong law.
I'm looking at the legal document right now.
They deported him under the wrong law, Tyler. That's why the court has decided he needs to come back and be tried under the correct fucking law.
Okay, while they're looking it up,
tried him under the wrong law.
I want to know Gibbs' answer to this question.
So, okay,
if you remember the question I asked, I don't know if you do.
Yeah. So as far as why? Okay, yeah. So here's my thing. I get the process. I get the due process. I get it's scary, right? It's just, it comes back to kind of what I've been saying all earlier. Like this has been a problem that's needed to be solved. And 60% of Americans think, according to a new poll, think that this is a problem that needs to be solved, and they approve of it happening, right? And it comes down to how fast Trump has done it, really. And yeah, sure, some things are going to get fucked up. So yeah, I would say I approve of it, because guess what? It's been goddamn my entire life that we have been bitching about this border down here being a problem. And guess what? No administration, Republican or Democrat, has done enough. Trump gets in there in over one fix. And it's like, hey, we're going to kick these people out. Mistakes might be made. But you know what? I think I am okay with it.
Gibbs, why don't we just nuke Mexico then? That'd be really fast, right? It'd be really fast to solve the problem.
Why would we do that? Why would we do that?
Because you are disregarding any consequences to going quickly. You yourself said that you care about due process, but they're going fast, so I guess it's okay. So you don't care about the consequences of going quickly and not even remediating and solving the problems of going quickly.
You don't care about the consequences either.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
What you're enabling right now,
my political takes on. You have no idea. You've never heard me before.
I'm just based off this, and basically all what you've said so far is, let's send SEAL Team 6, and you know what you're also indirectly doing, since you're talking about the consequences? By the current policies that have been in place under Biden and previous presidents, we basically had wage slavery occurring. And I guess you like slavery because that's what these illegal aliens are being used for. They're used for slavery in ag industries by major corporations that pay them under the table. And
you're derailing to an irrelevant conversation.
No, it's not relevant.
The conversation is
people are victims. Because all these people are also victims.
Are they justified?
If they weren't sitting here being under this illegal status, then they wouldn't have to be suffering under all these other problems.
Yes, we should do more about human trafficking. Thank you. Good job.
Maybe they should stop breaking the law and leave.
Yeah, they need to stop breaking the law and leave, and they come back to normal.
Stop breaking the law. Just leave.
Yeah.
It turns out everybody gets due process. Everyone. Illegal immigrants, legal immigrants, every person in the country.
When they break the law, they get to go to court. Why don't they just stop breaking the law first?
Gibbs, I have a question for you. Okay, so because your argument here seems to be, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but your argument seems to be that illegal immigration was a huge problem. They had far too many. No one was doing anything about it. It was causing too many problems. So you're okay with some violations of the law in order to get it done. Correct? Is that your argument?
Yeah. I would, okay. But you have to combine one other thing, which is the border security is wrapped up in the illegal immigration because they go hand in hand.
I understand. Would you agree that school shootings are out of hand? It's a problem, correct?
No.
School shootings are totally fine, just a natural order.
Not enough for him.
Okay.
There's not out of hand. I mean, the ratios that are crazy. It's just a hot button talking point because anytime kids die, it's sad. But the ratio you're likely of getting shot in a school shooting is significantly lower than the risk of not having guns for a tyrannical government, in my opinion.
I am curious. I didn't expect that answer, right? That does kind of kill my argumentation, but let me go through it. Let me go through it anyway, just in case you were a normal person, right? Who would agree, and I think most of us would agree, that one school shooting is one too many. It's a serious problem. It's a serious
I agree,
issue.
But that doesn't mean it's out of hand. You asked a different question. You're shifting the goalpost.
Well, that's what he just said he was doing. Okay,
so there's an FBI study that was done over 20 years on this, and what it said was about 4 in 50 million kids under the age of 14. I think it's 4 out of 100,000 under the age of 14 die.
The reason I asked this question is to ask this one: would you be okay with the government, in order to stop school shootings, banning guns, violating the Second Amendment to do that and to go quick?
Well, obviously with a come and take it flag, no, I wouldn't be okay with that. But here's the difference. And this is a big one. And maybe it doesn't matter to you. I know it's going to matter to him quite a bit. But it's the citizens versus non-citizens and versus people here that are here illegally.
So a citizen school shooting is significantly better than an immigrant school shooting.
Well, I would say that citizens should be getting more rights.
A school shooter is a worse person than a legal immigrant.
Well, sure, I agree with that as well, probably. I agree with that statement as well. However, all of the illegal alien crimes, any issues, accidents, burden on our healthcare system, all these things are 100% preventable.
So are gun crimes.
No. So gun crimes are not.
Yeah, you can. You
guns
aren't. Guns aren't.
Guns aren't. Now, see, this is where false equivalency, right?
Why?
Because the Bill of Rights guarantees. I'm going to tell you. The Bill of Rights guarantees the Second Amendment, right? It guarantees the right for guns.
Also
for all
guarantees
citizens.
due process.
Yeah, well, cool. Here's the Bill of Rights, though. It's applicable specifically to citizens. If you're an illegal alien,
No, it's not.
you might not necessarily be able to own guns. Yeah, I
Illegal
don't care.
immigrants are
Because
covered
guess
under
what?
the 8th Amendment and the 5th Amendment.
Citizens get special. No, listen, I get it, Wick. Listen, citizens get special privileges. I don't care that the 8th Amendment here, one of these illegal aliens, might have gotten this guy, got deported, and then comes back and he's going to get redeported. I don't care if it's substantively going to be the same result. I do care about, we're going to take our guns away, and then the next month we have some kind of color revolution here. I mean, that would be real bad. Or, oh no, next month the Nazis take over. Yeah, that'd be real bad, and I wish we had our guns, because guess what? As an American citizen and as a Texan, we've already fought 2 wars over this. So
Gibbs, can you not foresee negative consequences of the government being able to violate due process in the long term for people if they wanted to be tyrannical, for example? Could you not see problems with that?
Is this applying to exact citizens only though? Because if it's not applying to citizens, once again, don't care.
It applies to everyone in this country.
So this illegal alien was a citizen.
Let's give Shenandoah a chance. Shenandoah, go ahead.
But it doesn't matter if it's just citizens or not.
Hold on, let's give.
It doesn't matter.
Let's give Shenandoah a chance.
It's not a citizen, right?
Let's give Shenandoah a chance. Shenandoah, go ahead.
I have an honest question, Gibbs, because we've talked about this a few times now, and this is like a very common argument that you make. What rights do non-citizens have in your book? Like, if they don't have to have habeas corpus, if they can be like deported, or imprisoned just on a suspicion, they don't have a right to the Second Amendment. All these things are things which, for a very long time, like we believe that they have had. Like, where does it stop? Like, what? Like, can we just kill an illegal immigrant? I mean,
No.
No.
Okay,
I can tell you this. I can give you the exact
That's good.
answer of where it stops because this has been in the law since 1952.
Due process.
Because
apparently,
my
is where it
understanding of
stops
the
at.
law is that illegal immigrants do have the Constitution does apply to them to some limited extent. Like, obviously they don't have the right to vote or something, but they do have the right to habeas corpus and stuff like that.
Well, some counties are in some lefty counties are over there giving illegal immigrants rights to vote on as well. So that's a problem
at a local level.
It's not a deflection. It is a problem. It's a problem. Hold on, it is a problem.
Fucking one-on-one. Shut up.
Hold on. Yeah, here's the thing. That is a problem, and it's not a deflection. It's just another example of giving rights away that should be only for citizens. So whenever you're asking what specifically, no, I don't think you should be. You should have some human decency. You should have most due process. But if we're gonna have the same result, I don't see an issue here, right? I don't think we should be sending them to.
How do you determine if it's going to be the same result, Gibbs? How do you determine that? How do you determine it?
I don't condone sending anybody to Torture Island, but I don't think an illegal alien has a right to a gun. Right, I don't think that means they have a right to gun.
Are we just praying to God and saying, "Give me the result"?
I'm trying to answer Shenandoah's question, and I don't think the illegal alien has a right.
I'll let Shenandoah ask the question. How do you determine the result? Go ahead.
Other people are allowed to talk besides you, dude.
If you're a person who's like an immigrant, right, or say you're an alien, or say you have a visa and you're here on vacation, you're basically here at the whim and the goodwill of the country. If the country decides they don't want you here, they should have every ability within their right to say goodbye. America is for Americans, and we would love you to be here, but hey, sometimes people got to go. I don't understand why that's controversial when every other country in the world has the same opinion.
Can I ask you this, Gibbs? If the government decided, you know what, because you agree it should be on the whim of the government, right? The government should just be able to deport whoever that's here illegally, whoever they want, right? What if they wanted to deport only the Jews that were here illegally? Would that
Negative.
be okay?
It's 2 auspices that they go under. It's the Passport Act of 1926 and the National Security Clause of the 1952 Immigration Agreement. It has to interfere.
I'm asking if Gibbs would be okay with that morally.
Oh, okay, gotcha. My bad.
Yeah, I mean, not with a specific ethnic group. I wouldn't want to be let's just get rid of
the
Jews.
What about they only let the hot women stay? Everyone else gets deported.
Oh, you're talking me into it.
I'm in.
Yeah, we knew that was coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, especially the big booty Latina.
I'm just trying to figure out where your line is here.
I mean, I feel like that.
You know what? Women only.
Yeah, we have a guy. What is this? The guy. What was that fucking movie? Ollie G. We're gonna have someone at the immigration thing determine how hot they are, whether or not they can come in. Yeah, I mean, sure, let's do it. I don't care.
Gibbs, how do we determine if the result's going to be the same or not?
Yes, that is a good question. I second that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, once again, in this case, I mean, it's a case-by-case thing. And in this case, we know the guy was beating his wife and should have been deported under Biden, but wasn't. So due process wasn't followed there. Yeah, I would say same result.
When things are case-by-case, shouldn't there be some process that's due to those people that make sure that they get the same standards applied to them?
Do you think that these people, how do you think this is working for the most people? How do you think this works? Because what a lot of these people are is they've already been released from their first hearing, right? And now it's just basically the sentence hearing. They're going to kick him out. But the judges, there's not enough judges. There's not enough people picking them up. There's not
Assuming
people
there's
So if they've done that already, do you have a problem if they're already just going to get kicked out? Going, okay, we don't need to give you 30 more hearings to determine that you need to get kicked out. We already know you're illegal. Like, I don't understand why you want to just waste taxpayer dollars. We should streamline the process of anything.
Assuming there's thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of cases, right? That each one is a case-by-case basis. Each one has different facts. Shouldn't there be some standardized process that each one has to go through to make sure we're being fair to everyone?
Yeah, and it should be streamlined because it's not efficient currently.
Okay, so should Abrego Garcia have gotten that standardized process?
Yeah, he should have been kicked out under Biden. You're absolutely correct.
That's not what I asked you. Should he have gotten that process?
But yeah, he didn't. They didn't follow that process. You're absolutely correct. They should have kicked him out under Biden whenever they found out he was beating his wife and he was here legally.
So should we make
so
sure
you agree that the process? You agree the process was followed. Then, right?
Gibbs, what if it came out? What if it came out tomorrow?
Wait. But you agree the process was followed, then, right?
No. What if it came out tomorrow? Hold on. I'm going to ask you a hypothetical that I think you'll be able to engage with. Okay.
Well, no. Why don't you answer that question?
What if it came out tomorrow? I'll answer your question after you answer mine.
Well, I've already answered like 6 years.
Okay. Stop. All of you stop. Because again, you're all just trying to ask each other questions. Here's the order we're gonna go. Gibbs, I'll let you ask your question first. You can answer it, Jonah. Then then you'll have to answer his question as well.
Sure.
Gibbs. Okay.
I want to ask you a Doa question.
Okay. We're gonna get to you guys in a second.
Wait, I asked a question?
Ask your question to Jonah.
Question
like half here.
Yeah, so you agree that you're a big fan of the due process and everything, and you agree after he was busted and a restraining order was filed that he was beating his wife, that this man should have been deported because he was not someone here that we would want. Here they're already here illegally. Would you agree process wasn't followed then?
I'm not going to give my take on the facts of the case, as in, like, was he beating his wife? Was he not beating his wife? That's why we have courts and due process.
Well, they already determined he was beating his wife.
My only statement is that we should have been due the process that everyone else is due. It is not my place to.
You should have deported them then.
I frankly don't have enough time in the day to look up all of the facts about his personal character or not. I don't care.
How convenient. How convenient! So you're gonna you want me to hold on? So you want me to?
argument I'm making. I don't care about his character personally.
You want me to hold it? Hold on. So no, you don't care about the process though with this.
I do. I only care about the process in this case.
So then why don't you care about him not getting deported in the first case when it was his first time after he was beating his wife?
If they followed the correct procedure and then decided to deport him, and then they, even if he was able to appeal, and they all determined that, oh yes, the correct process was completed and you got your due process and you should be deported, then sure, go ahead and deport him. But what I'm saying is that wasn't followed. That was not followed.
That was not followed. You're right.
Okay, time for my question.
Now, Jonah can answer. You can ask your question to Gibbs, and Gibbs, you got to answer it. Jonah.
Sure, I'll answer it.
Hypothetical. Say it comes out tomorrow that Abrego Garcia was set up for someone. All of the facts against him were like planted and placed against him.
Hillary Clinton did it. Hillary Clinton. This will help. Hillary Clinton set him up. There you go.
The cops were dirty and lying and whatever, and he's actually innocent. He's just like a family man, whatever. And that comes out in one of the later hearings when they're bringing up new evidence. Or maybe someone comes last minute and is like, actually, I have the case that the evidence that will solve this case or make sure he's innocent. Do you want to make sure that there's opportunities for all of that to come out? And if that comes out right now, would you be okay with us using every measure to go back and get Abrego Garcia?
Well, that would be very impressive if all those things happened. I don't know, Hillary Clinton somehow going back in time and bribing his wife, using her succubus powers.
It's hypothetical.
I am answering it. She went back in time, used her succubus powers to convince his wife to file this thing, saying he was beating and scratching her, and somehow convinced the court to do this. Yeah, in that case, I would, I guess. Love to see the scientific proof of time travel, and I would love to see the scientific proof of demons. It would be very interesting to see. I would love to see that. Yeah, I would like every opportunity to see Hillary Clinton's demon time traveling skills.
I never said Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, well,
I never said that. I asked you a hypothetical that you're not engaging with. Answer the question. Would you be okay with bringing that person back by any means necessary? Should we bring him back and try him under due process?
No, I'm not going to condone sending SEAL Team 6 into another country to violently break out. To violently break him out of prison for when he's not even a citizen after he should have been deported in a previous
What if
case.
Tyler was kidnapped by El Salvadorians and held in a El Salvadorian prison?
Help me, Gibbs!
Well,
would you be okay with sending SEAL Team 6 to rescue him?
Well, I say that we follow the same precedent. Yeah, I mean,
I'm a U.S. citizen. That's for war.
Gibbs did not answer the question. I answered this question. He did not answer the question.
I'm not gonna. You're not gonna like this, Tyler. I'm gonna say we give him the same treatment that we gave to the U.S. citizens held by Hamas. What do you think?
Okay.
Gibbs, what was your answer to that question?
I was going to hack up.
Should we bring him back and give him due process?
We should absolutely. If Tyler, an American citizen, was held in another place, absolutely SEAL Team 6 get his ass out.
That's not asked.
Okay, well,
should we bring
you are failing to answer his
tomorrow,
question, Gibbs, but that's okay.
Should we go get him?
I mean, I answered his question. I mean, like his question. Okay, sure. Your hypothetical is if it came out that somehow his wife lied and all the physical evidence didn't exist. Yeah, I guess sure we should go unconvict the previous case. Like that. Yeah, that.
Great.
Cool.
Do you know? Okay. Do you know how often late term evidence shows up in cases like this? It's more often than you would think it would be.
Yeah,
it's not that often, right? But it happens.
Here's the deal.
This is why we have due process.
Hold on. Are you advocating that we should allow suspected terrorists into our country? Just like I hate to be a dick, but if you're not an American citizen and you want to come here and it's suspected you're a terrorist and there's enough evidence that it's confusing that you might be, guess what? I don't want you here.
Okay.
Okay, real quick, can I jump in here? Because this guy was arrested in 2019 and went in front of 2 different judges. One adjudicated he was a member of MS-13 and a danger to the public. The appeals court he went in front of after, that was the one that gave him the withholding order, also affirmed he was a member of MS-13 and a danger to the public.
It's 2 cases.
Well, that's 6 years later. So after that, he was issued a deportation order for anywhere but El Salvador. This was in 2021 this happened.
And what did the district court say?
Hold on, he was given 90 days to be deported. Nobody deported. The Biden administration left him
choosing. Which judges agree with you, and those are the ones you want to follow.
Hold on, so you're saying I'm just following the chain. Yes, I don't have to give you every detail. I'm following one chain of events.
To bring him back and give him due process.
I'm not there yet. I'm talking about 2021. You're talking about 2025.
Okay. Enough. We've circled the drain. Shenandoah wanted in. Shenandoah.
I did. Oh shit. Hang on a minute.
Did you forget why you wanted in? You failed me. Okay, for the second.
I know. I'm sorry. I did fail you with this. Well, because we were circling the drain, and now I'm like, oh fuck.
Well, that's why I'm breaking. You're a circuit breaker, buddy.
Can I ask my question to Shenandoah?
Please, actually, yes, because I was listening to that, and I was like, how the fuck?
That beautiful wave in your hair, is that natural? Is that something you had to put work into?
God damn it!
What wave?
Okay.
Like this wave?
In the front.
Oh, the front. Oh yeah.
As a wave haver myself, man, that is beautiful.
DM him your grinder afterwards.
God
now
damn,
we're on a panel. We're gonna talk about
Deportations. Though I'm not a homosexual, it's very nice of you.
I'm a waver too, dog. I understand the struggle.
Oh my lord, man.
Okay. Enough of that. Okay. Let's get us back on track here. Maybe this will help. Recently, it was shown, or at least a court has claimed, that in this process of deporting people, a 2-year-old U.S. citizen was deported with their mother against the wishes of their father. First of all, do we support this action? And second of all, do we think that this violates a father's rights to visitation, to custody if he had it? I'm not sure of the details of the case specifically. Do we worry about this? A 2-year-old citizen getting deported.
So this is going to be Very callous. And this comes from my time working at a family law firm. This is, once again, nobody's cared about this issue for many years. There's a major problem that you deal with in family law, and oftentimes people have visitation, right? The father doesn't get all his visitation in his office. And usually when I was working there, not all the time, but the majority of the time, this happened with the male half of a broken up relationship, right? Is the father would have less time, they'd get him on a holiday like Easter or something, and then they would take the kid and go to Mexico and leave them with the kid, the family in Mexico, right? And then we'd have U.S. citizens down there, and then like these moms would be like, "Oh, I want my kid back," and it become a whole thing. And then it would take them years to get their kid back through the system. And so now suddenly we care about this whenever we ship one out with the mom down there, but we didn't care about it for the last, I don't know, ever. But suddenly it's an issue. Once again, sorry, don't care if the egg's cracked on this one. Y'all haven't cared about it ever before, but now y'all care. Now that we're getting fucking results from Trump, yeah, cry me a river, bitches. That's kind of my take.
What do the rest of you think? Okay.
I clarify. I don't know much about it. The 2-year-old was a citizen. The 2-year-old was.
Yep, the 2-year-old was
Yeah.
at least
Okay.
the district court said.
There's been 5 developing stories, and I've been watching the 2 judge ones, so I'm a little scant
Okay,
of the
so if you
evidence.
don't
I
know
actually
about
asked,
it, that's fine.
Yeah, I asked your chat to send me links so we could learn about it.
But basically, the evidence they presented. So what happened was, in this case, and the district court said that he doesn't believe due process was followed in this case either, and so that's why the 2-year-old citizen got deported. The mother tried to call the father to kind of arrange things and figure out what they were going to do with the kid because she'd been apprehended and she was getting deported, like they weren't waiting. She was only allowed a minute on the phone before the ICE agent snatched the phone and hung up. They presented evidence in court of a handwritten note, and not initially in court because she didn't have court, right? But in the district judge courts when they had the appeal process and things like that, when her lawyers and her dad was trying to get her back, right? Or not her dad, her father, the dad of the citizen was trying to get her back. The note that the government presented was written in Spanish, and they claim it was her consenting to have the kid deported with her. But does a mom get to do that against the wishes of the father?
Generally in the U.S., it seems like that's the case with like custody disputes and such.
Yeah, that is generally the case. Women have more
That's
time
above
to-
my head, man.
But-
That's out of my realm.
And like I said, once again, it comes back to this. This happens all the time where generally it's the father doing this on like special occasions where they get the kid and they're taking him across the border. But it also happens with women. I saw it all the time working at a family law firm, and nobody cares. Nobody's cared forever. Suddenly we're getting results, and now poo-poo. And also, I'm looking into the story, and Rubio says that he was sent with the mother to take care of, right? I guess I know that's a biased source, but it looks like further in the article I'm reading, it says basically that they told this guy, and it remains unclear what his citizenship status is, that he would also be arrested and deported. So it sounds to me like he's not legal either, and they would have been sending the child back with both parents if they had gotten the father. I mean, are y'all saying that we want to separate the 2-year-old citizen from them and keep the kid here and send both of them back, or what is y'all's proposal?
I want to broaden a little bit and just say that their intention with who they deport is pretty clear, and the statements that they make are pretty clear. They're choosing who to deport and doing it pretty selectively and pretty with a political goal in mind. There's a reason that they're separating families, for example, pretty consistently. They did it last administration. They're doing it even more now. There's a reason that they picked this 2-year-old with like a complicated family relationship to deport as well. They're not picking and choosing random cases. They're picking cases that, one, they think is the most gray area legally that they are trying to get away with. That's true with the Abrego Garcia case when they made a mistake and said, no, fuck you, we're not taking it back. And cases like this that are the most emotionally hard to deal with and like probably legally complicated, and just getting away with it to test the boundaries, to test the limits of what they can get away with. Because if they get away with this and the Garcia case and all these other things, then they can deport whoever the fuck they want. And no one's going to stop them.
The first sentence he said was right. They're obviously doing this with a political intent and goal, but that political intent and goal is clearly stated and pans out in the immigration data. They're going after people that were already subject to deportation after their due process hearing said that they were subject to deportation. For the most part, that's about 90 to 95% of the people that have been deported, based on what DHS is saying. And
We don't know if that's
showing
true
the
for this
numbers.
kid.
We don't
It
know
could
yet.
be,
Yeah.
but we don't
No,
know
this
that.
is your anecdote. You are correct. But with this mother, again, like this is a custody dispute. It seems like not an immigration dispute. She was here illegally. She was deported. Now we're dealing with the custody of the child. She generally, if it was in a U.S. court, would get custody of that child. This is a little bit. That's a little bit over my head. I don't know that much about
Well, here's
parent
my question. Here's my question about that, right? Is it's suddenly an issue. Why is it an issue now? Nobody on the left has cared about this issue before, and it's been an issue for decades. Because it's true. I mean,
I've said it now 4 or 5 times. Like, can we move past this point of the left has never cared about X thing that got brought up?
Well, hold on.
You don't know our positions on these things. I do really care about these things, but you don't know that. You don't know who we are, right?
Well, okay, that's interesting you say that. I know that there's never been any legal action taken by the left, as far as I'm aware. I've never seen anybody.
Am I Biden?
Cool. Maybe it's not you then. Maybe it's generally the left. Which your representation of today. Learn to debate.
And that's fine. Cool. And I would join you. And I would join you in critiquing that. But why are you using it in debate against us? I don't understand.
Because I'm talking about it, Papa. Let me talk. Right. Here's the thing. This has happened. And just like Tyler said, it's a custody issue. It's happened for decades. And it's never been an issue until now. And the only reason they're bringing it up, because like he said, it's politically, but it's actually politicized from the left. Y'all are only bringing this up and nationalizing it as a news story and sensationalizing it because, it makes Daddy Trump look bad. We got to stop Orange Man. Whenever it's been happening for decades, and y'all never gave a shit about this happening to people here all the time. They are picking their cases
explicitly. And the reason they did child separation explicitly last administration and this one is because they want to make a statement. They want to be like the cruelty is actually the point because they want to dissuade people from coming over. You can claim that's a good thing, but what I'm saying is they're being cruel for that purpose. And they're doing cases like this to be cruel for that purpose, separating families.
I don't know.
Hold on. Do we agree with that just overall?
No, because the Biden administration separated significantly more families than the Trump administration. Was that based on cruelty, or is it like I vote with these people, so I think that they're actually nice, and I'm going to give them all the faith in the world, and the people I don't vote with, I'm going to give them zero charitability at all? It's just hyper-partisanship. It's been happening since the Flores settlement.
They admitted that this is their strategy. They have admitted to the strategy.
No, this is the first administration. They're not separating families now. Trump administration is leaving families together. That's why we lost 3 American citizens, is because we're keeping families together now.
Shenandoah, go ahead. You were trying to get in.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was fairly sure that I remember it being a big news story back in 2018 that it was the explicit policy of the Trump administration to separate families. I don't think it was with the Biden administration. It might have still happened, but I don't think it was intentional. I think that's at least an important distinction, but that's as much as I remember about it. I don't know. It's been years.
There's no evidence anywhere that they've stopped doing family separation.
Wouldn't think so. That's what I mean. I don't.
Why would they do the less cruel thing and reverse a policy? They say they're wrong from the past. They have not ever done that. They have done that with the fucking election.
Why would they do the less cruel thing? Because they're not evil masterminds from video.
Why do you think? Hold on. Let's just put that. Why is there family separation for the immigrants? Do we know why this is? I'll tell you why, because clearly you don't know. It's sex trafficking. A lot of times these kids are coming across, and this guy's claiming it's their child, and it's one kid. They ask the kid, like, "Who is this guy?" They're like, "I don't know. We met him last week." And guess what? You're getting child trafficking, and so they have to separate them to find out, is this guy really mommy and daddy? But y'all don't care.
They put them back together once they realize it's actually their parents, right? They didn't do that. Oh shit! They kept them apart for years.
The less cool thing would be cool. I mean, the child can lie too. We need to find out the information. I guess the less cool
lying.
I guess the less cool thing. The less cruel thing would be to allow this child be sold into sex slavery and get diddled the rest of his life.
Why don't we just?
I got a super chat.
Kill every male that comes across the border.
Let's not do any of that. $2 from Cameraman 502. And gang, come on. I know times are tough with the Trump economy, but keep sending these super chats in, right?
Bro, Wick's headphones broke. Help a motherfucker out.
Yes.
Get him some money.
2/3 due process, and this is from Cameraman 502. Says 2/3 due process equals 0 due process. Thank you for the $2. And thank you for the 500 bits in the Twitch chat. I saw you earlier, and you left because you didn't like this show, but that's okay. Thank you for the 500 bits. And here we are. Get them in, and I'll read them. But I guess the idea, right, and this extends beyond the border, right, but it does, again, focus on the border as well, that I keep hearing, especially from the left, is that cruelty is the point, and that the Trump is being excessively cruel in order to dissuade people from coming to the border. That's why they're sending them to the foreign gulag and CCOT, right? Like they're doing this on purpose in order to send a message, in order to get people not to come to the border because they know it's going to be bad for them if they do. Do we, A, agree that's happening, and B, what do we think of it as a tactic?
It's framing. I don't think it's cruelty. I think it's showing that we're actually going to punish people for breaking the law the same way any other police force that cracks down on crime would. It's a deterrent for crime. Crossing the border illegally and being here illegally means if you're going to work or pretty much do anything besides sit in a house that nobody owns, I mean, just sit in the woods, you're doing something illegally every day by being harbored by somebody, by working, by all sorts of actions you can take as an illegal immigrant in the United States. So at the end of the day,
Well,
okay.
they say it's cruelty, right? And they're talking about separation, right? For one, I just brought up the safety issue for the children, which is actually more cruel. But let's bring up another one. If I have a DWI, I commit a DWI, and they convict me, right? Or they're saying, oh, they catch me in the act and I'm in jail and I haven't paid the bond. Do I get to keep my kids in the jail with me? No, they separate me. If I kill somebody, do they let me keep my kids with me? No. If I commit pretty much any crime that's otherwise that's not just a finable one, which illegal immigration is not just a finable one, they separate me. So is it cruelty or is it just following due process? Sounds to me like they're following due process. But hey, what does this guy know?
Well, yeah,
Listen to
just to
Drew
be clear,
Carey.
that's just
Drew
like we
Carey
don't
will
wanna
tell you
incarcerate
Shenandoah,
children.
please.
Yeah, that's just because we don't want to like put children in jail. If we're talking about like deportation, where they get to still live freely in somebody else's country, then like yeah, it can reasonably make sense to keep a family together, assuming it is, of course, like their family. Like obviously, we don't want to have like a kid in jail. Like that'd be kind of weird. Then like Megamind situation.
Yeah, not good.
That wouldn't be good. But what I was gonna say is it cruelty? I mean, I think deterrences can like rise to the level of cruelty. I mean, cutting off a thief's hand in order to punish them for stealing is a form of deterrence that is, in my opinion, cruel, and that's something that we used to do in the American colonies. And is it a good tactic? I think it's producing its intended results, and I don't even necessarily mind the results per se because I'm not against securing the border. But I think, like, it's kind of the same thing with cutting off the hand of the thief. I just wouldn't be willing to do such a thing out of humanity, even if it was actually getting people to steal less. Especially because it'd be so damn hard to reverse. Like if you're wrong, which does happen.
Well, let's talk about that, right? One of the things that the Trump administration has backed off on, because Jonah, you are wrong when they say they've never corrected themselves. They have on one. They've backed off deporting student visas as much, right? If you remember, the early reporting was that they were specifically targeting any student visa holder who had broken any law whatsoever, so like traffic tickets or jaywalking or something like that.
Did they admit they were wrong, or did they just stop doing it?
I think they just stopped doing it, right? But that's
okay, there you go.
That's good enough for me, right? Like I'm okay with them just stopping. But it does seem to be, well, I guess I'll pair it with this. We've seen poll after poll after poll come out recently showing that Trump is either even or in many cases underwater on the issue of immigration. Do we think that this is indicative that the public is turning against him when it comes to his stances on deportations and things like that?
I'm ready for this. When the first page and a half of my document was all polling data. So when you look at the polling data, at first he was plus 10 on this, went down to plus 5. Now he's sitting around -2 on the RCP average. But when you look at polls that break up immigration and border security, what you see is border security still sitting at 60%. It's the immigration. Then when you go even deeper, again, I have all these polls in my source document. It's specifically about Khalil and Garcia and the information around them, which a lot of it is misinformation as well. Khalil, bye-bye.
Any other thoughts on this?
It's only misinformation if your IQ is at or below where Tyler's is, which is not
good one.
But there's a reason we use these cases.
Hold on, let Jonah finish.
Yes,
let Jonah
obviously,
finish.
Obviously, I'm going to tell you how. I've told you how the entire debate. You just haven't responded to it. There's a reason why these individual cases are super powerful. Number one, the majority of people actually have some sort of emotional intelligence, can relate and empathize with other people. There's this like awesome cell phone that the conservatives do, and they post that little graph. They're like, oh, we care about family more than other people, blah, blah, blah. There's the reason these cases, people empathize with them. And when people realize that these are real people and the things that are doing to them are wrong, and these people that are seeing what's happening could be next, and their neighbors could be next, and their friends could be next, then they start to go against it. When you just hear, oh, X thousand people were deported, you don't identify with those people. So of course it's going to be individuals that are the most important cases that are brought up, but these are the people that set precedent for future cases. So it's not just anecdotes. It's really important to the future of law in the country. A fucking Supreme Court case was held on one of these anecdotes. So of course it's important that we hear about these people.
That's not telling me how it's. Hold on, let me finish this because we were having a one-on-one. That's not telling me how I was wrong. You said I was wrong, and then you went and just gave your opinion. You didn't. You said you were going to address why my Khalil statement was wrong.
I did that earlier.
You were going to address why my Khalil statement was wrong, and all you went into was, I don't like it. It makes me feel... I realized I couldn't... People are going to get scared. Okay. People that don't read the laws are going to get scared. That's not an argument. I realized
I couldn't reason with a monkey who cannot read Supreme Court documents.
A judge ruled he is eligible for deportation. All they need is the Secretary of State to say it's 100% legal, which was my point. Yes, it is.
Do national security
a judge
do national security implications still require due process? If you're suspected of terrorism, do you still require due process?
Yes, and he has his due process. That's his right to.
He did not have his due process. He did not have his due process.
The process
he was deported on his legal papers. On his legal papers, he was deported under the wrong law. The wrong law. We're talking about
Khalil. I brought up Khalil, not Garcia, and you said how it's going to be wrong about Khalil. You don't even know the difference.
Yes, you know the difference. Obviously, I just said my bad. Retard.
Okay,
holy
wonderful,
shit.
Wonderful. Jesus. I'm glad you guys are all
take it with grace. My God.
The whole context of what I was saying had nothing to do with Garcia.
So hold on. So, okay. To answer your question, yeah, maybe legal precedent's being set here, right? I don't think it is indicative that people are turning on immigration because, one, like Tyler said, the polling data seems to suggest border security is pretty high. Before the election, 62% of people were saying, "Hey, we want these people out." I'm sure we're going to lose some people on the way whenever they see like, oh, somebody got left that they liked or this guy, whatever. I mean, there's always a sob story, right? And there's always a way to spin it. Sure. However, I don't think that the rank and file or the majority of people are going to be that upset about this, especially when you see how much he's accomplished on the border already. Like it's crazy that I feel like I've been betrayed by the Republicans actually, right? Because for the last 20 years, since I've been aware and like kind of following politics, right? I've known this has been an issue, and if you voted for Republicans hoping they'd be tough on things, some Dems back in the day they voted for Clinton to be tough on it, and guess what? It still was an issue, right? And then today it solved this problem overnight. It's crazy because it's been solved overnight almost, and I feel betrayed by Republicans because it's like, well, they could have done this the whole fucking time. And they didn't. And now I feel betrayed by and then either Duff even more so. At least they were honest about wanting to bring all these people in. But we could have stopped it the whole time. And now Trump's exposed that. And I think a lot of people are going, holy shit, what else is that Trump exposing that can be done here? That's been lied to us and just people dragging their feet. And I don't think it's indicative. I think people are excited about it.
Well, how does that How does that square with Trump's descending poll numbers? I think he's at approval rating of like 39%, maybe less at this point.
Sure, 46 right now.
It's like 40 something last time I checked. But yeah, it also depends on the polls. Like, am I?
You should check, but I see it. I see it pretty. I see it like.
There's one poll that has him under 40. Every other poll has him at 45. He's sitting at 46 right now in the aggregate.
Well, I mean,
if I were to pay you $1,000, whether that goes up or down in the next 6 months, would you take the bet that it goes up instead of down?
I would say not, right? 6 months. No, I think his economic moves are going to take longer.
It's probably going to go down.
So I'm looking at the aggregate from roll. Hold on, just real quick. Just real quick. I'm looking at the aggregate from Real Code Politics, and it's at 42.
I'm looking at it right now. It's 45. Oh, they're talking about just immigration.
President Trump job approval.
Yeah, 45.3%.
Man, we really are living in a bad information
no,
environment.
I can share.
I mean, regardless, it's still like 50% less.
I'm
than
not wrong here, gang. I know they can't see it, but
I just sent you the screenshot. Maybe I Maybe I fucked something up. I just refreshed the
They're
page.
talking about immigration approval, not net approval.
Well, yeah, to immigration.
That's what I
No, I'm
asked.
talking job
That's at
approval.
48.2.
Job
Well,
approval.
even then, Wick. So even then, if you're talking job approval, right, you still have to look at it like this. So this is how I'm looking at it, right? 50% and arguably less than 50% of the country probably voted for Trump, right? So because we don't know everybody goes in there. Even then, people voted for Trump because it was the lesser of two evils. One, we had Laughing Kamal and we had old fucking evil Hitler Trump, right? Who are they going to vote for? I don't know, right? So they go in there, they vote, and they weren't happy. So of course, I'm expecting him probably to have between 30 something and 40 something. It doesn't really. I don't think that's indicative. I think as long as policies go, if they take effect and they go well, it'll go back up towards the end of his term. As it or not. We'll see in the mid part. I just don't think that it's indicative people are soured on this just because of a few sob story cases that some lefties are spinning. Sure, you might be able to do a spot poll and get somebody on the spot right outside the bar. Do you think that this is evil? This child got deported. Lord, they're deporting children. And then we find out, well, both parents are illegal, and to keep them here, they would have had to fucking.
Are you anti-sob story? Are you against sob stories?
No, I'm not. I'm not against them at all.
Okay, but you used one at the beginning of this debate.
That's cool. That would be why I said I'm not against them at all. And that's it's called tactics, and I'm aware of those. And guess what? I used one to illustrate my point. And guess what?
They're doing the same thing. Death as a tactic?
Yeah, I did, because it is a tactic. It's a true tactic.
It didn't illustrate anything, though. All you did was instrumentalize your friend's death. It's not evidence at all. It's unrelated to the case.
Her friends want me to use it as a tactic because the more people need to know what the fuck is happening down here, bro.
It's unrelated to the case. It's unrelated to the process. It's unrelated to the Trump administration. It's illegal. That's the only similarity.
You're trying to make me look bad. And here's the thing. My friend, cool story, bro. Listen, Drew Carey, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. But one, I will say this. I fucking asked them beforehand, and when I talked to them, they were like, please do. More people should know about this kind of shit.
It didn't illustrate anything.
It does illustrate. It is just there's a fucking problem down here, and no one's gave a shit, and people are fucking dying. You can try, but once again, come and take it. You can still take and try, but come and take it.
Oh, it was
okay. Are we back? I think we're back, gang. Give it a second for OBS to come back.
Or did we lose him?
It was just Wick's side. I think I was fine.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're back now. Cool. Everyone good? Everyone can see me? Great. I feel like I didn't miss anything at all, so keep going.
Yeah, I mean, someone's being an asshole over here and trying to make the argument that I'm using someone's death for profit. We're trying to make people aware of the violent things that are occurring here and the lives of American citizens dying.
All that anecdote does is that an illegal immigrant killed a person, and I'll even believe that. I have no reason to doubt that happened. But that's all it proves. An illegal immigrant killed a person, and
that's one preventable death. That's one preventable death.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one preventable.
So if they weren't here, that person would be alive today. Are you arguing that?
If we completely closed our borders and let no one in till the end of time, no one would die from illegal immigrants.
Nobody said that.
Everyone would just die to legal immigrants, or everyone would just die to citizens.
Or just enforce the illegal immigration instead of I don't know, having them come to a hearing and then releasing them until that date, and then they never showing back up again. Yeah, I mean, or just do that. Maybe enforce our laws.
I'm not going to get derailed by. I'm not going to get derailed by the demonization of illegal immigrants. They have lower crime rates.
Dehumanization. Yeah. Okay.
It's just like this is. Yeah.
I mean, that's and arguably that's not even true as well. Texas has put out a recent study saying that it depends on how you look at the data, because a lot of times they're not even allowed to ask if people are illegal immigrants when they're committing crimes in some of these states. So yeah, you're just making fake news as well.
Okay, wonderful, great.
Happy to look at that.
Understood.
You want to correct that polling data thing?
Hold on, what?
You want to correct that polling data thing?
No, because I haven't seen the new stats yet. I'm checking to make sure you're not giving me a bad link.
Your last poll was dated for the 11th.
Yeah, these are the ones that aggregated. I'm looking at the site right now. I type in real clear politics, President Trump job approval, and this is what comes up.
I don't know. Maybe you have a filter on or something. Do you have filters?
I don't know. Maybe I do. I'm just saying. I'm clicking. I'm clicking what I'm clicking, and I'm getting what I'm getting.
You got nothing. There's like 12 polls you're missing from the last 2 weeks.
Maybe I'm telling you. I could share my screen, but it doesn't matter because
New York Times is one of those polls. That's the number one poll in the country.
Algorithm, bro. You got your algorithm is trolling you.
Hold on. I think I fucked up. Okay. No, we're good. I was just zooming in and out.
Does
It doesn't
matter?
have anything to
does
do
the approval
with
rating matter?
because again, it's still negative.
Yeah.
He's
No,
still
he just called me
negative.
wrong.
I did also want to say earlier
Go
that,
ahead,
I mean,
Shenandoah.
like, due process is essentially a counter-majoritarian institution that we worked into our constitution, because it's one of those things where it's like, you know, if like a massive mob says like, hey, this guy is guilty and we want to kill him, I mean, like, they even might be right, but obviously it would make a lot more sense for the preservation of a republic to have due process and to make sure, like, we're going to actually put him on trial. We're actually, you know, and so on and so on and so on. Like, for me, to be honest with you, like 100% of Americans could love it.
Sites.
And 100% of Americans could love it. And I would probably be like, yeah, I think that's like against the Constitution. And I think that's bad. And I think it's also in the Constitution for a very, very good reason. Because I think even touching due process sometimes is it's a dangerous game to play. There's a lot of consequences that can come when you start saying like, hey, we're just going to cut a couple corners because we want to get something done. And like that's a consequence that might not realize itself immediately, but in 10, 20 years, like now Democrats are using it against you guys, and it's like, congratulations, you fucking played yourself. And
Well,
like,
that's the argument
That
I'm
happens
most
all the time.
that's the argument I'm most sympathetic to, right? That you made right there is, oh, someone's using it against you. The issue I'm having, right, is like, just look at this, the Garcia case, right? We brought this up a couple of times, right? He was supposed to be deported in 90 days, and they didn't deport him, right? And then something new happens, right? Now we're deporting. So y'all, the argument comes up, y'all like, due process isn't followed. All right, that's the argument, right? And so my argument is, well, it was not followed here. You should have already been gone. So now that whatever happens after that, I don't see an issue with due process not occurring, because he's already gone. Hold on, he's already gone through due process. They've already determined he should have been deported. They should have just picked him up on the spot and just shipped him out. But no, instead now we got to go through another trial thing. Now we sent him there, and now they want us to bring him back. I'm sorry, I don't see that as a violation.
If you're really libertarian leaning, you would understand why what you just said.
I've never claimed to be a libertarian.
Okay, well, if you wanted less big government, you'd understand why what you just said is a problem, because it's the government's responsibility to do the deportation, and the government themselves could say, they need to be deported in 90 days. Actually, we're not going to do that deportation, and thus we're just going to, deport him by whichever law.
Are you trying to argue big government?
What I'm telling you is that
not deporting him is smaller government. Is that what you're arguing?
He's just saying that it's like the burden of the government, essentially.
It's the burden of the government, and because it's the burden of the government, if they don't fulfill their own responsibility, and then later they can just go back and say, well, we didn't fulfill our responsibility, we can just go do whatever the fuck we want now.
That doesn't mean you just pass go and you start over though either.
That's
like
if
you should have been deported and they didn't come and get you, they should be able to come get you later and be like, oh, well, we've been missing you. You're gone now, buddy. Like, I don't see, like, we got him.
Usually that actually is like the penalty when the government fucks up due process, is essentially like say for example, like you get accused of stealing, you actually did steal, and then you're in court, and then the government like fucks something up, and it's like major enough that it would like it would deprive you in some even small way of your due process. In a lot of cases, you have a mistrial, and you might even like just go free on that basis.
This isn't a mistrial.
Well, let's look at. Hold on. I have an example that might be helpful for the discussion. Mm-hmm. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was convicted of raping a woman. Pretty bad, right?
I thought he was adjudicated.
He was let go.
He was convicted.
Because they violated
the Bill Cosby guy.
Yeah, he violated his due process rights. That's how serious the government, or the courts, I should say, take this. Is when your due process is violated, even if you're really, really bad, even if you're a serial killer, right? Even if you are obese, they will still give you right your due like they'll correct it for you.
Even
the correction
if you're fat and ugly,
again as Cosby was, who probably did grape that woman. That's probably what he did.
But Wick,
they let him go.
Do you think that's the equivalent scenario, Wick?
Again, and you know why they did that, right? Do you understand why the courts have that thing? It's to disincentivize, because we talk about incentives, right? And we talk about these things. It's to disincentivize or deter the government from doing the same in the future to others.
Well, we're talking about due process vaguely here. What happened was the only reason they had any information to go after Cosby is because he willfully gave it over under the auspices that he wouldn't be charged. That's why he lost.
Let me ask you a question. I don't think you'd be a bad failure. I'm just curious here, right? Do you honestly think that I get the due process. I get why it's like an incentive not to do due process. I also yeah, it's shitty that Cosby got off even though he probably did it. That's bad, right? And in that case, though, I would say the system, it failed the victim, but following the due process, letting him free was the right call. This is a different scenario, in my opinion, right? Because we already have that he should be deported. Like, there's a 90-day thing. After 90 days, he should be gone, right? Now, we have a new case, a new thing going down, and it's like, well, in my mind, this isn't like, oh, due process wasn't followed. Oh, due process wasn't followed this other case. Oh, well, that's irrelevant to me because this person should already be gone, right? We shouldn't be having this second case because the due process wasn't followed by the Biden administration, which was at the ending was the punishment.
Right. If like you're right, if he should have been gone within those 90 days, like we'll just fine. Okay. We'll say that that's the case. But the problem is once you run out those 90 days, now you have to like get another 90 days. Like you have to actually go like and say like, hey, look, like we fucked it. Sorry, we like waited way too long and now our legal window to deport this guy is gone. Like we're gonna have to get a new one. And you might be right, but like that is the government's fault for not deporting him. Like, they fucked up. Now they got to do it again. Like, they got to do, and they have to do it right.
Right. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I would say they probably should be able to pick him up any point after 90 days or whatever. Just
that's
at
gone. Well, that's not the law. But, even if you feel that way, like I get it, but that's not how we.
Sure. Okay, but why is that, right? Why do you want it to go through this thing? Why do you want to spend more taxpayer dollars? And this is my argument. We should streamline the system. And I think that's what they're trying to do here. Is why do you want to spend another tax group of taxpayer dollars here to push another trial, or not another trial, another process, paying however many people to get these papers issued, do another 90 days? Whenever the whole point of this is, oh, he's already had the time to get settle his affairs and kick him out. Why do you want to keep spending taxpayer dollars in perpetuity?
I think if you change the system to where, hey, we got rid of that 90-day rule, and it's like, hey, look, if you could be deported, you can be deported at any time, full stop. I'd be fine with it. Like that's my fundamental problem with it. It isn't necessarily that like, oh my god, the 90 days are like so fucking important. It's more that like the 90 days of the rules we have in the book. Like that, like by violating that, we are violating his due process. We're saying like, hey, look, this is the time you have to deport him. If you don't do it, like that's your fault, Mr. Government. Like you gotta actually like follow through with the stipulations we give you. And if you want to change those stipulations in the law, like that's fine. But the problem is that we didn't. So like in this case specifically, until that is changed, his due process has been violated.
Do we disagree with statute of limitations?
Okay.
Because that's what it seems like. Like, for example, if you commit a crime, but then you don't get caught for X amount of years, depending on the crime, like sometimes there's no statute of limitation, like on I don't know, murder.
I don't know, like illegal immigration. There's no statute of limitations once you enter illegally. Hold on. If you're here 30 years and you've been here 30 years illegally, you're breaking that law every day you're here because you're illegally here.
This 90-day rule works this exact opposite as that. This guy is in custody with a deportation order. They have 90 days to deport him. If he doesn't get deported, then they release him into the U.S. interior. So it's the exact opposite. They have him in custody, and if they can't find somewhere to put him, then they let him go.
Yeah. Do we have a problem with this?
And the government has to.
Yes.
But they didn't kick him out, right? That they didn't follow the due process, and y'all are sitting here acting like, oh, we're just these evil people. This due process, when it's like. He should already be gone.
You don't understand the problems that brings for you in the future if you don't want a tyrannical government. Because what the government could do is bring charges, have someone have some part of the due process go wrong where the government fucks up and doesn't do what they're supposed to do, and later on down the line they could be like, well, we were supposed to have done the thing, we didn't do the thing, now we're going to charge him under a different law than we initially said, the wrong law, and then deport him anyway. And so that could be done not just to random illegal immigrants, but literally anyone.
Just to flip that on your head, though, I would argue we've already had a tyrannical government that was choosing not to enforce laws in order for their benefit, right? So they're sitting here going, oh, we're going to choose not to defend this guy.
What benefit did Biden get?
Also, just
arguably, there's a lot of arguable benefits for this. I don't know what all the reasoning for wanting to keep all these illegals here, to ship them around, do whatever. But we already mentioned that in some areas they're allowing immigrants to vote that aren't citizens and whatnot. So we could go from there and figure out all sorts of things. However, back to this though, they already have him in custody. They should have kicked him out. And you're going to sit here and go, oh, well, all these other things is bad down the road. I'd argue we already had a tyrannical government not following the law. They were sitting here betraying Americans by intentionally not deporting these people back and then intentionally re-releasing them. And then going, oh, well, the time ran out. Oh, how inconvenient for us. Like,
So-
and you're like, it's the same argument. Y'all are going, oh, well, Trump's going, oh, it's too hard for us to get this guy. It's so bad. And you want me to sit here and take it serious? I'm like, well, I care a lot more about this law than I care about this guy who should have already been deported the first time, being sitting here and got back because y'all played some kind of game and like waited out the time and then released him. That's equally as tyrannical, if not more so.
So
It wasn't intentional. It's an
It
understaffed
was
agency.
intentional. Oh, it was
No.
okay.
Yes.
It was unintentional.
I
say-
do also.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yes,
I
they
have a
tried to pass.
question.
They tried to pass a bill to overfund it, or to not overfund it, but fund it more, and the Republicans didn't want it. So, like, I don't know what you want.
Yeah,
Seriously.
okay.
I was
Actually,
also
that's
gonna
right.
ask, like,
Asylum
Well,
abuse
hold
happened.
on. Shenandoah. Shenandoah's been trying to get in.
Yeah.
He's been such a well-behaved young man. Go ahead.
I'm very well behaved, thank you. I don't want to say that anymore. I'm not. I don't want to say.
You're a good boy.
Oh God, no, that's not right. So, anyway, what I was gonna say is so as far as I understand, and like this is, I'm not gonna say this was 100% confidence because I might be wrong, but in Trump 1, I believe that they followed this type of due process, and they actually did it successfully, as far as I know. So, like, for example, if the 90 days ran out, hey, guess what? You're going to have to do it again. And in Trump 1, as I understand it, they actually would do that. And, or, like, say, I do believe there were probably cases in Trump 1 where they didn't enforce an immigration law on somebody, and I could totally believe that could happen. And I, like, just because it's such a large-scale thing. Like, would that be a tyrannical government because Trump also did the same things? I'm just, like, just from my memory. I don't have, like, a fact check for this.
I mean, sure, if they were intentionally letting you go out. The difference is, I think even in your scenario that you just gave, Trump is like, okay, we didn't get him out in 90 days for logistical reasons. We're refiling, we're keeping him in, we're sending him back out as soon as we can. Versus this scenario is they're intentionally letting all these people go out because it's not just, oh, we can't process this one guy. It's we can't process thousands and thousands of people, and they're all getting released after 90 days, and then they're never coming back to hearings. They're never getting picked up again, and they're just living their lives, living free. And bad things are happening,
Okay.
and it'd be
Let me
like that's
jump in
totally
here,
different scenarios.
Let me jump in here too because I can jump on this a bit. So there is under the Biden administration, he passed a asylum, or he made up his own basically visa program that took people in from Venezuela and other countries. He bypassed Congress for this. He was sued by 22 states. It was shut down by federal courts, not just a district judge from somewhere that they shopped. An actual federal court shut this down and said it probably wasn't illegal. He was sued over the CBP-1 app that actually got dropped because it was found out that was actually legal, and he was sued over his interpretation of parole authority, and that one stayed on until the end of his presidency as well. So 2 of the 3 major lawsuits against his actions on immigration were deemed to be so akin to criminal action that they were being moved to higher federal courts to be tried. One of them got dropped. So on top of that, kind of what Gibbs is saying here is there's an entire political party, one that I was part of my whole life, that I parted for in part because of this specific issue, that is pro-illegal immigration. Not just, we're pro-compassion. They are pro-illegal immigration. We have sanctuary cities. We have fucking all sorts of shit to deter people from being deported. Like if you get caught drunk driving, there was a fight where Democrats were fighting to make sure if you got caught drunk driving and you were illegal, you didn't get deported. When I was a kid, drunk driving, Mothers Against Drunk Driving were trying to get the death penalty for that shit because it was killing so many people. And now we won't even deport somebody for setting up a situation that could kill an innocent family driving down the street. It's crazy to me. Then if you look at anecdotal specifics like these 2 judges, we have one judge illegally obstructing justice by trying to hide illegal immigrants who beat their wives from deportation. And then we have another judge who's letting illegal immigrants live in his house, giving them illegal firearms, rifles, mind you, not just handguns. He gave them fucking rifles. And then advise them on how to deal with all the criminal shit they had on their phone, like messages to other gang members, pictures of decapitated bodies. And then, when the police came to arrest him, they caught him destroying one of those phones on behalf of the illegal immigrant. The fucking judge! So, this is one party.
How does any of that have to do with denying due process from someone?
I'm talking about
kind of curious
Gibbs'
about
point.
that. Yeah.
I'm talking about Gibbs' point about how one party has been ignoring the laws, doing whatever they want. So it is an uphill battle for the other side.
How does any of that justify the deportations? That's
cool.
what we're talking about, right?
All the deportations except for 3 are justified.
This isn't the
that's
point. Listen, this isn't your point. This is the Shenandoah's question, right? And he asked basically, oh, well, what's the difference? And the difference is I'm arguing one actually was tyrannical, right? They actually sat here, had corrupt judges on the bench doing all these things. We have them waiting out orders and then not deporting people versus under Trump. Yeah, they follow these rules to the T. They waited, 90 days. We couldn't get it done logistically. Then they tried again. There wasn't this just like, oh, we're going to let these people roam free. We're going to set this system up to bring people in illegally. We're going to bypass Congress and set this asylum bullshit. We're going to put the app, this little app on people's phone, and make it super easy. We're gonna send the border czar down there to try to stop it, and then suddenly a caravan's coming. All these things, and then overnight, Trump stopped all of it. Yeah, I gotta say, I think one side's more tyrannical than the other. So all your little floundering, going, oh no, it's so terrible. I don't buy it from. I think Shenandoah might be honest, but I don't find it from Jonah here. It's just bullshit, is what it is.
I mean, I will say, I do think that this is hard to explain, and I might fuck it up. So let's see if I do. Let's see. I think personally, I agree that I especially think that like violent criminals and all that stuff should be deported, and I do care about border security and all that good stuff. But I also do think that not enforcing a law is not symmetrical with enforcing a law that comes with a punishment and then not fully following through on the due process necessary in order to enact such a punishment. So, like, just for example, like, let's say that, I don't know, let's say that the Trump I'm trying to think of a good hypothetical. Let's say that the Trump administration has a law that says, hey, look, you have to arrest X, Y, and Z person if they say the N-word. I don't fucking know. I'm just trying to pick something. But, like, let's just say that that's a law in the books. We'll ignore, like, First Amendment stuff. And he doesn't do it. He's just like, I'm not going to fucking do it. Like, I don't want to do that. I would not consider that tyrannical. What I would possibly consider tyrannical is if it's like, hey, we're going to enforce a law, but also we're not going to do it properly, and you're going to receive a punishment that you have not gotten your full due process for. That's significantly more concerning, to me at least.
So let me ask you a question here, right? Because like let's use a law in the books.
Sure.
What about hanging people for horse thievery, right? So say I chose not to enforce that in, like, I don't know, the 1860s when people were using horses.
Yeah.
And someone happened to steal my political opponent's horse while he's out on the trail. And I'm in power at the time, and I choose not to enforce the hanging this guy. And guess what? Now my political opponent has died because I previously chose not to enforce this law on this guy, and I'm just conveniently have no opponent to run against. Would you say that would be a tyrannical use of power to not enforce the horse thievery law when on a previous offense that allowed this guy to commit a second occurrence and kill my political opponent?
I think of those, like, in that very limited set of conditions, yes, because we're talking about a situation where somebody is intentionally, like, outlawing somebody in order to get somebody else killed.
Well, so my argument is that that's what's happening now. It might not be specific for the purpose of killing a political opponent, but it is to harm.
I do think that is like
Americans.
I do think that's an important quality, because I do think that the Democrats, even if you believe that, like, they're a illegal immigration party, I don't think that they run sanctuary cities, for example, just because they're like, fuck, I really fucking love when, like, MS-13, like, murders people. You could say that they're misguided, but I would struggle to say that they were not enforcing this law in order to intentionally have people hurt.
What if I did a sanctuary city for nukes? I was like, I don't want to recognize the government, and now Peggy, Texas is now going to have...
Well, just to be clear, a sanctuary city is just that the local law enforcement isn't going to give over information to they're
not going to give the federal government any information about the nuclear
and that would and like obviously yes, I mean, and also nukes kind of add like an extra layer to the situation where it's like, well, okay, like fucking billions of people could die, but
Shenandoah. If there were a law that banned handguns, and certain like rural city in Texas had a sanctuary city and said we're not going to help.
That's actually where I was going to go with
we're not going to help the feds enforce that law. We're not going to tell them who has a gun, even though we probably know who has a gun. Are you okay with that?
Right. That actually was going to be my question.
Well, no, we would fight a revolution over that because we've already done it once. So
that's not what I asked. Would you be okay with that city having a sanctuary city for that gun policy?
Right.
I mean, you're just ignoring history once again, though.
Would you be okay with that city having that policy for that? Would you be okay with that city having that policy?
It's an amendment.
Right.
So is due process, by the way, for every person in the country.
But not ignoring federal law. That's not.
Hold on. But if the federal law says that there is restrictions on handguns, and a local city says, you know what, we're not going to enforce these restrictions on the handguns, is that not also violating federal law in the same way?
No, because if the courts deem that that's something acceptable to be passed under the auspices of the Second Amendment, then it's a justifiable law. If they do that then they should come down on their head. It all depends on if the law is justified. Now,
we're assuming the law is constitutional.
Yeah,
assuming the court's okay with it, yes.
Well, okay, so there would be one other factor that I would say before I give you the yes is if they are doing this to solicit a court case to challenge that interpretation, and that is their goal, is to make it illegal. If they were, hypothetically, that's where I'd say no.
I wanna make a challenge to the law, right? The constitutionality of slavery. So I take you as a slave to challenge the law. Is that okay?
That's how that works. Yeah, that's how Trump's doing it with the EO on the 14th Amendment.
Okay,
that's how.
Enough. Now we know.
I mean, you'll probably get arrested. You'll probably go to jail, and then when you go to jail and go to your trial, that's when you start fighting that. Yes.
So you think that would be
okay? Gibbs should answer the question if he would be okay with that city having a sanctuary city for that law.
Yeah, I mean, this is a dumb question. One, I already think that the government's doing unconstitutional things.
You can't answer one question.
Yeah,
answer the fucking question.
Cool.
Holy shit.
Well, because it's a dumb question, and I don't want to answer it. So, you know what? I'm just not going to answer that because I'm being a douchebag. Cool.
Coward, retard.
But, yeah, cool. Yeah, coward, retard. Yeah.
Listen, legitimate argument, legitimate hypothetical that embraces your own exact argument, and you can't answer it because you're a coward. You are a coward. You're a cowardly debater. You don't know how to answer hard questions. You dodge everything.
No, I don't dodge nothing. I think you're just a pretentious asshole, and that's not the way to get me to answer.
Answer the question.
But secondly, back to Shenandoah is the point here. Oh yeah, because
I actually do
this is not a hug box.
Sure.
Ask the same question.
Hold on. Listen. Shh. Thank you. All right. So I couldn't even answer the question if I wanted to because, dear Lord, this guy just screams "re" into the night. But here, all right. Let's just. All right. I will answer the question. Fuck it. In that scenario, I would advocate that not only does the city should have all the amendment right to do that, I think that the city should start the next Texas Revolution, and we should start fighting the government right then and there. So here, how about that for an answer? Go fuck yourself. Now, back to this other thing. I think this is important that we kind of moved on.
Would you extend that to the immigration problem too?
Yeah, cool.
Would you extend that same thing?
Shh. Back to
should the immigrants rise up and fight a revolution?
This is my point, Shenandoah, like to your thing earlier, is you're like, sure, I can bring up a real like specific hypothetical that doesn't fit the criteria. The problem I'm saying is with the Biden administration not enforcing these laws and letting it go on, it wasn't just, it was targeted to a mass effect. It was almost like the nukes, which I think is a more equivalent example because millions of people are affected by this at an economic level. They're affected like at a danger level. They're affected at all sorts of other issues that we're just
not talking about. Gun violence?
Hold on, at the medical level. Listen, I don't care about what you have to say.
More people died from nukes or from guns in this country.
And you're just choosing not to engage. Shh. All right. So here's
the engagement.
Once again, like, listen, engagement is not just ad homs left and right. Like, I can do the ad homs Listen, I'm going to cook you and you're going to cry. So we're not going to do this. I'm going to try to get back to Shenandoah. All right, like, so here's what my point is. When I see this, it's a mass problem. Right, a mass problem where they're choosing to do this and it's affecting us. So my argument is, yeah, I think that it is a tyrannical thing, and I don't see it as like a false equivalency at all.
That's interesting because I guess I don't know how to resolve this contradiction because for me it really is just a situation of like for me like I'm generally good with the Second Amendment broadly speaking, and if the federal government said, hey, look, we're going to pass a law that says, hey, you can't have, say, all guns anymore, and like say, hey, the court said it was constitutional for some fucking reason, and then the local governments were like, listen, we just don't want to give our resources to enforcing this law. The federal government's going to have to do it on its own. We just don't want to participate in this. I wouldn't be mad at that. Even if I like fundamentally disagree with that local government, I think it would at least be within their rights to say that like we don't want to put our resources to something that is a federal law that we just don't feel like is justified.
So how far do you
hold on, just real quick, Shenandoah. Hold on, Shenandoah. Shenandoah. Let me ask you this then. Say there was a township in the South who decided, you know what, those federal laws on the civic rights, civil rights, we don't want to enforce that. The federal government's going to have to. Do you think that would be okay?
You know what? I think they would be allowed to do it, but I would really like a situation where the federal government would pass something strong enough to where they could force their hand.
Well, hold on. We already had this decided. We already had this decided.
Well, that's what happened
before the Civil War.
Which did happen. Yeah, like exactly.
That's what happened.
We had the nullification crisis.
In the National Guard. Yes,
yeah,
that is what happened.
I mean. Yeah,
and exactly. In the same way that ICE is able to go into these cities and still do the things themselves, but the local area doesn't have to help them. And like if the government wants to pass a law and ban sanctuary cities, that's up to fucking Congress and the president. Okay, but they haven't done that.
Do you think the federal government should be able to say, "Hey, these people have to be fired if they don't enforce those laws"? Like, say, I don't know.
If they pass a law saying that, yeah, if they want to pass the law, sure.
So, like, say, like that lady that didn't want to marry the gay couple, should she just be fired for, not wanting to? She just chose not to do it, right? Like, I mean, that's fine, right?
Well, luckily for us, that was a constitutional question that was resolved by the Supreme Court already, so we don't need to be the ones to decide that.
Oh, I mean, the fact that we fought 2 wars over gun control is not enough for you.
I think she should be forced to marry them. Yeah, but the Supreme Court already decided this too for the actual law in the country.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. Actually, it's unironically, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing how that works.
Okay, fun times. Gang, I know we haven't gotten the full 2 hours yet, but goddamn, I think we're running out of stuff. So what we're gonna do now, okay, is we're gonna get to the closing statements from each of these lovely individuals. Tell people where you can find where they can find you, and your closing thoughts on this. I have a link to all their stuff in my YouTube description. Please go there. Before we do that, I do have one more super chat to read from $5 from Deej Nuts to say, if someone evaded ICE for 90 days after the deportation order, do they get a new trial? Well, Deej, as we talked about, this doesn't apply to people evading ICE. This is for people who are in custody. So, different thing. Gang, we got some great content coming up tomorrow. I'm going to go on Visora's channel and confront her about why she always dips my panels. So check that out. Wednesday is going to be call-ins, news of the day, etc. And then Thursday, we're going to be talking about the judicial system. Are the activist judges doing a judicial coup? Did Dugan get arrested by the tyrannical Trump government for disagreeing with Trump? All these stuffs and more. We're going to have some great people on. We're going to have Soy Pill. We're going to have Drone Tech. We're going to have Juna's coming on again. And we're going to have Deej Nuts is going to come on as well. So tune in for that Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Next week, Monday, I will be teaming up with Pisco to debate Sean Barasaw and the Misfit Patriot on whether or not Trump is the greatest threat in America to free speech that we've seen in a generation. I think he is. And we'll talk about that on Monday. So check us out. For now, though, closings. Let's start with Shenandoah, and we'll let Gibbs have the last word. Shenandoah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Shenandoah. I stream at twitch.tv/Chairman Shenandoah. I honestly think I've made my position pretty clear here. I think due process is a fundamental pillar of the American social contract, and any attempt to erode that pillar should be taken extremely seriously, as has been done in the past. And yeah, I just don't think it's worth eroding that in order to deport people faster. I'm not fundamentally against border security. I'm not fundamentally pro-illegal immigration, but I do think it's important that we have a constitution, we believe in due process, and as free people, we should apply that and apply it very rigorously. And that's kind of it.
Check him out, gang. I have a link to his stuff in my description. Click on that link, give him a follow. Tyler, go ahead.
All right, well, I'm a little disappointed in myself. Not because of my arguments. Those were perfect and great, and everything about them was fantastic, and I'm right about everything. The part I'm disappointed in is that I used a tactic I really don't like, so I want to apologize to Juna. I intentionally got him flustered so he would make a mistake, hammered down on the mistake so that I could make him look bad, because I didn't like his tactics early on of not addressing arguments directly. So I want to say I'm sorry. That's not something I usually do. It was fun, good content and all that, but I would rather battle your best arguments. So if you ever want to take a breath, just chill out, and drop the toxic partisanship thing. I sent you a link to our Poker League Twitch server thing, so you can come chill, get to know everybody, and like see that we're all just human beings that disagree, and everybody's kind of worthy of making an opinionated point. So I hope you take that up.
Wonderful. Okay, well, you can find a link to his stuff in my description. Click that link if you want to see more of Tyler. Juna, please.
Well, I guess I have to respond to that now. No, I don't think I was the flustered one. I think you were, but that's okay. And then like we had a like heated debate, and that's what this is for. These are fun. The blood sports is what I came here for. I don't even make content. I come here for the blood sports to have fun, to debate people, and because I'm a committed liberal, and I think my opinions and my positions are objectively correct, and that people that disagree with me are wrong. And so that's why I come on these panels. I will take you up on that though. No hard feelings to like people like individually, personally. On the actual substance of the debate, though, I do think that people who say that they're small government and are unwilling to see the consequences of ignoring due process are really, really telling on themselves for not actually thinking through their arguments. Because if you think through why eroding due process, even in this one instance of someone we may not like, an illegal immigrant, ooh, scary, you can see really simply how a democratic administration, for example, might use these against you in the future. How even fascistic authoritarian types would use this in the future against people that they disagree with. Illegal immigrants are people who get due process under the Constitution. You may not like that rule, but it exists, and so you need to change it before you break it. And so, if you believe in due process, you ought to believe we facilitate due process by bringing Abrego Garcia back home, having his due process, and if the result is the same, the result is the same. We have the process to get there.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. You can find a link to his stuff in my description. Thank you. Next up, finally, Gibbs. Last word.
Yeah, unlike my constituents here, that was a fumble. Unlike my constituents here, I apologize for fucking nothing. Go fuck yourselves. You're all the worst. I hate all of you. No, I'm just kidding. But moving on, yeah, I mean, if you want to see both us here in a second, we're going to be on Primes talking about the gender divide in politics. It's going to be interesting. And I think as far as all this stuff, illegal immigration bad, deport their asses, build the wall, learn the gun rights are important for everybody, and all that good jazz. If you like what I have to say, I'm Admiral Gibbs. You can see me everywhere as Admiral Gibbs. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Remember, tune in tomorrow. I'll be on Visora's channel. And we'll see if I don't dip out.
Can I make a prediction? Yeah, can I make a prediction? Can I make a prediction? If she's gonna say something like something, my echo chamber is always right, and any opinion outside that's wrong. Cool. And then then rage quit on you. That'll be my prediction.
We'll find out. For now, though, I'm just gonna end the stream because it's done. Remember, Tuesday we got content. Wednesday we got content. Thursday we got content. 6 p.m. Eastern. Every day, all day. Let's go. And remember, 100 men would lose to a silverback gorilla.
Fuck you.
They would the gorilla would destroy them.
Would
tear them limb from limb and use their limbs to beat the other men. If the men don't have weapons, if the men have weapons, it takes significantly less.
You're wrong. You're still wrong. All of chat disagrees with you. All of us disagree with you.
Just correct. I'll talk to you guys later. I'll see you.